All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Separation Nation. We're excited to be back again with Todd Saylor. Yes, hey. Todd Saylor's got his...
I didn't think you were going to have me come back.
He's got his Tom's Donuts original shirt on, one of his companies.
I know. I wanted to represent.
How many donuts again in distribution you got?
Oh, my goodness. We do almost 1,000 dozen a day, between 800 to 1,000 dozen a day.
And that's one of his Indiana-based companies.
Yeah.
So he's a Florida, Anna Maria Island guy, right. But that's he's got stuff all over. So,
we do.
But we're last we kind of broke down some of the stories and talked about his new book, Wired Differently. If you don't have it yet, you can go to wireddifferently.com or you can pull it up on Amazon. And either way, we encourage you to go to Todd's website. But anyway, just a phenomenal show last show that we had Todd on here. And so excited to have him back with us this week. There was just too much great stuff to unpack to keep it at one episode. Wow. And, and I had mentioned when we closed out the last show that we'd kind of start off something I had just learned that as much as I have followed Todd over the years, I didn't realize that he was personal friends with Nick Wallenda. Just a few weeks ago, if you were watching ABC Prime Time, you watched Nick Wallenda walk across a tightrope across an actual volcano in Nicaragua. Also, they aired, 6 months previous in New York. I didn't realize Todd was there. And inside Todd's book, when you get it, you'll see there. Yeah, let me get to it here. So you'll see that, there's a whole write-up from Nick Wallenda where he, and if you just have to study that family, I mean, they're famous in that whole tightrope world. His father actually passed away walking a tightrope, and I think his sister or somebody got hurt bad a number of years ago. But Nick actually, you can read it for yourself with his recommendation here, but he actually considers Todd to be a mentor, a trainer to him. And so Todd's on site. With everything, I was laughing because he was sitting there hanging out with Chris Harrison. Chris Harrison from The Bachelor. Any of you ladies listening will know what that is. And I got to admit, I watch it with my wife too.
Ladies, all the time.
I might get into a little.
I love that show.
But anyway, so just maybe share a little bit about that connection there, funny story, and then from there we're going to kind of get into some of the meat of Todd's keynotes and some special events and things that he's putting together. So
yeah, I think it's fun to talk about Nick. Nick's life is interesting, and I think we were put together a while back, and we became friends. And Nick's been doing it a long time. I mean, Nick
seems like a great guy,
super spectacular guy. And so when I came into his life, I really part of that experience, I was just a real newbie. And so I think he likes the fact that I'm a businessman and I didn't grow up with him and that kind of thing.
Right.
I can talk to him about things that he needs to talk about in the business world. And if I ever needed to know anything about walking on a wire, I know I could talk to him.
That's right.
Right. I walk on a wire all damn time, right?
Yeah.
He's a great. So I was funny story. So we did this whole Dick Clark production, and he puts all this stuff together. He's great, and he lets me come along. He likes to have a lot of people around him that he's close and comfortable with, and he's really special. But he takes you through things, and it's fun to see it through the lenses of somebody like that. It's been a real privilege. So we did New York, and I climbed up on the high rise, and I looked down, and I mean, it's just daunting, the whole thing that's going on. But the most recent one from Dick Clark, so we did two. We did the Times Square, and then after that, went to Nicaragua, and Nick walked across an erupting volcano. A lot of cool stories that went with that, the backstory, and his wife, I call her Wendy, but her name is Iridinda. And that's why I call her Wendy, because I can't get her first name right. She gives me permission to call her Wendy. But she actually hung from a lariat on the rope by her teeth. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just spectacular human being. I mean, and she didn't sweat. She was so graceful. And Nick is just, to see Nick standing there on the edge of this volcano with no harness or anything, watching his wife hang by her teeth over a fiery hell. I love the imagery of them conquering Satan. He walked right over hell. The volcano's name was Messiah, but it's the volcano of hell. He stomped on Satan. She hung over. I mean, they beat that. And so I love the imagery of that. To watch him, watch her, and to see the show go on was really inspirational. But we had one moment, my wife, we stayed there for 4 days and met Sage Steele, and Chris Harrison was fun, and Jack Hanna was spectacular, him and his wife. I've met Jack on the first walk back in Sarasota when we met, and just a great, spectacular guy. But we broke loose one day. It's a communist country, right? And so they got us a bodyguard, and we spent 8 hours. It was a beautiful country. But I kind of got loose, and I was looking for like a cool cross necklace for Nick, and Joseph, who's a really great guy, Nick's oldest high school buddy, he's just a spectacular man. And so I bought these volcano crosses. Well, anyways, while I was doing that, a guy comes up to me and he says, hey, they speak Spanish, and didn't quite understand what he said, but he said, I want to get a picture. And I'm like, hey, I'm wired differently guy, Todd Saylor, right?
That's right.
He said something about Facebook, and I wasn't thinking much of it. And he says, come in the corner, I get a picture. And I thought, well, I'll either get my picture taken or I'll get robbed, one of the two. Turned out I got my picture taken. And after that picture got taken, another person comes up, hey, can I get a picture in Spanish? I said, sure. My wife's there, and I'm feeling all of it. Then another person comes, and man, I'm getting my picture taken. I'm like,
hopefully you didn't have your Rolex on during all
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't think that. I'm like doing wired differently shots and all this kind of stuff, and I'm feeling all about myself. And then there's women start coming and they're pounding around me, and the bodyguard's like, hey, we got to go. And I'm like, no, they love me. So finally the one guy comes up and he goes, man, thanks for the picture. And he says in Spanish, it's broken in English. He says, when you walk across the wire, will you wear a mask? Oh, man, I'm not Nick. We're just bald. We're both bald, right? We're all bald guys look the same, right? And I was just completely deflated, and I'm like, no, it's going to get back to Nick that I'm impersonating. He's going to feel funny. So, and I finally said, no, I'm kind of like Nick's trainer. And they're like, Nick's trainer! And they all piled around me again, and they didn't care. They just anyways, my wife loves that story because it's humbling. Yeah, I need humble. That's her job,
What is it about our wives that like it when we get humble?
They're like, oh, man, that was good for you, honey. You needed that humbling.
They love that stuff.
Humbling, hobbling, whatever you want to call, So, yeah, it's a great event, and I think he's going to walk across Legoland if they still do it, April 26th or something like that. Great guy. Hope maybe you guys get to meet him sometime. Everybody should really get a chance to meet him.
Be great. We'd be honored to. We'd love to.
So,
well, let me ask you this: one story, something we didn't get back to, just to kind of, tie into the book, Wired Differently. That one thing you referenced, and you mentioned it in the last episode, but you talk about in depth about your fear of going bald.
Did you watch that on Facebook?
And you apply, but you apply it though in such a way, because in the book, I'm like, what the hell? He's talking about going bald here, and how's he going to tie this one in? And then I'm like, okay. Yeah. But that's we all deal with the fear of going bald, and not just baldness.
Yeah. So
although I have a little bit of that fear myself too.
No. Did you get to see it? You got to see it. It's a good one. Well, I'll tell you about that because I think it's that whole interpersonal side of us in the book. It allows me to be real and take disarming things and talk about them. And I think that's what, if you're attracted to me, I think that's what you see. And the workbook really dives into the interpersonal side and really challenges you with those thoughts. So you got the book, it's laying out this system, and then you got an interpersonal workbook that talks directly to you. And then you have a coaching CD that you stick in, it's old school, but you put in your car and I really just talk to you about what's going on in my mind, and then I challenge you. Escape the land of quo, I want to challenge you. So you got that coaching side of things, which is really cool. But this book is the interpersonal side. So you got this big success system of being wired differently, and you got the interpersonal side. And so the fear The Scary of Going Bald. That's what's the title of ended up being the title of the speech, was The Scary of Going Bald. And it started off as a talk to my company. I do a CEO blog on our PaySurf Systems website. And so one of the talks was The Scary of Going Bald. And it was a conflict resolution speech where I wanted people to understand the steps of the 5 R's, and I'm going to try and remember them, but the 5 R's of conflict resolution. In the first one, I wanted to make fun of the fact that I was scared of going bald growing up. And this idea of me being scared of bald, I wanted to put either the pandemic or the epidemic or whatever you're fearful of. If I'm fearful of being bald, insert what you're fearful of. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted people to understand that I can make fun of myself, and I was scared of going bald. And the first thing I had to do to get over that fact was to recite and look into the mirror. The first R was to recite, you are going bald. You can't fake it. I tried to fake it. I tried to use certain shampoo. I tried to use conditioner. I took some Ron Popeil spray paint. I did everything to keep from going bald until my wife looked at me one day. I was at a hockey game and she said, "What's that going down your face?" I said, "What's wrong, baby?" She goes, "I don't know, there's brown stuff." I thought I was so slick. I had all this spray hair on. I was covering up the spot, but I started sweating and there was a brown paint coming down my face. And so, you just can't get away from the truth. Yeah. You just can't get away from the truth. So the first thing about facing fear is to look in the mirror and just recite, I'm going bald. There's nothing I can do about it. I got to face it. I got to recite it. And so that was one of the R's. And you need to recite, and then you need to do some research. Once you figure out what you're fearful of, you need to say, okay, I'm going bald. Why? What can I do about it? Can I do anything about it? I'm fearful of the epidemic. I'm fearful of this. Let's learn more about it. I've finally said I'm scared. Now let's figure out what we can do about it. Then we want to rehearse, and we want to go through the things that we can do to fix it, and then we want to resolve the fact that we could move through it. Mm. And if you have problems with people or you're fearful of people, after you get through all these 4 hours, you resolve it, and the last one, you need to release it. That's a whole nother speech, but Scary going bald. And so it's just a fun way of telling the story in a humble way, my friend.
Well, what about, if people come to hear Todd Saylor keynote, because you're dynamic on stage, you really are. And I've watched the video from, especially you're just out in Vegas.
Yeah.
And powerful. Just you deliver strong. Tell us when you're, on that stage, what can people expect to receive, to be empowered, what your core message? What are they going to leave? Because while it's going to share some of the same dynamics of the book, you and I have talked enough to know that there's a whole nother mission and a thing from the front of the room, from the stage, that you deliver. So, tell us a little bit about that.
I'm really excited that we get to talk about this, because the keynote, I was stuck on my keynote for quite a while, because I was stuck on what's the keynote going to be about the book. And the book is so broad and so informative in so many ways, and it delivers great concepts. But there's one chapter in the book that stood out to me the most, which really, chapter 4, The Distance. And I wanted a message that could play to wire differently seeking people about my life. And, you guys are good examples of what it takes to go the distance. The distance is my favorite quote in the book. And I wrote this to Justin. And it's, we're not separated by the efforts that we make, but more so the distance that we're willing to go. And that all speaks to the fact that we're wired differently. And we recognize the fact that there's always going to be someone bigger, faster, stronger. We're just the way it is. My dad told me that when I was a little boy. I started 4-pound baby. I never got big enough to really do much in certain things, and I wasn't quite smart enough, and I never was fast enough. And I definitely wasn't the strongest guy. And so I was never the biggest, fastest, or strongest, or the smartest. But he said, "Son, you have heart. You have legs."
Your dad called you Butch based on the book, right? Yeah. Where did that come from?
I don't know. He just always, since I was a baby, he called me Butchie Boy.
I was just curious.
Yeah, that's good that you caught that. He's Butchie Boy. He said, "Listen," I got ready to run a race when I was, 7 years old. And I got on the starting line, and I believed, prepared, and was ready to run the race, but I didn't realize all the boys were going to be bigger than me. I was a third grader. I said, Dad, what if I can't? He said, we don't have time for that. So we're going to run this race in about 20 seconds. I looked at the boys again. He said, none of that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get off this starting block. And you're going to be behind. You're going to be in last place. You go up to that first corner, you're going to be in last place. So that's okay. We practice. You come around that second corner, you're still going to be in last place. There's nothing we can do about it. But when you get halfway, I want you to understand, halfway, they're going to start to drop off. I said, yes, Father. So you can get to that third corner. You're going to be about second, third place. I just know you, son. I know your heart. I know your wheels. I know your will. I want you to look for me on that fourth corner. I had my hand up high, and I said, yes, Father. You can start to move up, maybe one or two bigger boys. But when you see me coming around that fourth corner, all I want you to do is look for my sign. I'm going to be smiling, and I'm going to have my hand up. And when I drop my hand, son, all I want you to do is run as hard as you can and don't look back. Yes, Father. You got that, son? Yes, Father. Runners, take your mark. Set. Damn, that gun went off. I remember as a little boy, my heart leapt out of my throat. And we got off that gun. I got off on the first corner. I was in dead last place. I came around that second corner. I was still in dead last place. I got up halfway there, and I started to move up. These bigger, faster, stronger boys were starting to slow up. And here I was in second or third place. Couldn't believe it. Got to that third corner. I'm thinking, where's my dad? Dad. There he was in the fourth corner, his hand up, held high. And I remember coming around that third corner, and I look at the fourth corner. I just didn't want to let him down, you know. He dropped his hand. I ran. I just remember as a little boy, I just couldn't feel my legs. And I didn't look back. And as I fell across the finish line, I passed that last bigger, faster, stronger. And I rolled in the center track, and he picked me up. I said, I did it, Dad. I did it. Abba, Father, you know. He said, now you can look back, son. All the boys were just walking, sitting on the side of the track. He said, son, you went further. You see, we get too hung up on things. It's not the efforts that we make. A 7-year-old boy knew more about success in a 440-yard dash race than most adults will ever know in their life. He realized that he could compete against the bigger, faster, stronger. He realized more than he could compete. He realized that he could win if he just went further. It wasn't 440 yards, man. It was further. They couldn't go the distance. They were bigger, faster, stronger. But he realized in that metaphor that his father taught him. You know, it's just this day on this show or whatever. It made me.
That's so good.
Well, it appeals to, you know, yeah, starting's important. A lot of people never start, but out of the ones that start, how many finish? So that's why we always say, I mean, how you start is not nearly as important as how you finish. Having the stick-to-itiveness. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you start, the field of competition may be thick, mm-hmm. but never underestimate the power of longevity. The ability to keep going.
Willpower. Against
the tide. When things aren't going your way, understanding that a plane takes off against the wind, it don't take off with it. Mm-hmm. And if you want to soar, you got to be able to face the adversity and last through the adversity and keep going. You might not be able to, sometimes you may get slowed down to a crawl, but if you don't stop, if you just keep going, you know, and that's the number one key to success. It's not, you know, all these, you know, 20-step programs and all this, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. Exactly. Hold your mouth like this. Got to hold your mouth right and stand it. You know, it's not all this technical BS that so many flipping bullshitters out there on social media that they tell you. Yeah. It's really just taking massive action and not quitting. And everything you need, I believe, will come to you as you need it along the way. But you have to keep going because you never get to what you need if you stop. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's a powerful story. And it's the, you know, keep it simple, stupid. It's the simplicity, I call the simplicity of success. It's way more simple than what most people believe, and what a lot of people in the world, in the effort to make a dollar off of the people with a desire for success, have painted it to be. Would you agree on that?
I think that, listen, everyone's got their own way, right? And I think we need to respect that. But my way is the Wired Differently way. I think you guys prescribe to a lot of the things that I write about, and you embody that. And I do think that you're exactly right. And to stay true to that story, it's, how far will you go? How far will you go? The question becomes objective, but if you look at it the way I want you to look at it, it becomes a little more provocative. What will you give? What will you do for success? How far? The little boy, he did it, but let's really talk about adulthood here now. All of a sudden, you're going to be forced to commit money, efforts, times, talents, blood. Life is about risk. And your measure of risk and distance and how far you will go for success, for your family, for your loved ones, that's up to you.
Well, one thing, one component of that story that you started with was fear.
Yeah.
What if I can't?
What if I can't?
And I think it's okay that we're afraid. Hell, nobody starts a business without some kind of fear. They tell you they're not afraid. They're
scary going balls, all that. Yeah. You're right.
It's all good. And one thing, because we call this show Separation Nation, and you see separators in people. But one thing that is, we did an interview with a guy named Kevin Bull, and he tells a similar story. With him, he was a BMX racer, bike racer. But we talked about how as a kid he developed what has taken him this far. He's my age now, and he's still the same principles, just like that principle your dad taught you. It's not about bigger, faster, stronger. It's about longer, outlasting. Yeah. There's so many things as a kid that we learn that we don't even really know we've learned it. It's just there.
It's 7 years old. I had the keys to success.
Yeah. But you didn't know that at 7 necessarily.
No,
you look back on it. And
we gave it to me. You're right. Yeah. You're right. And it took a book. It took the question of how did I do it to really capture that story. But yeah, I love it. You're doing good, John.
Well, and that's because the thing about Wired Differently, in people like you, the small percentage that truly is wired differently, a lot of times we're not good at reading our own press in some cases. We don't understand. Like you had to get to this point in life, 56 years old, whatever.
I can't remember.
Something in that range, okay? 46, maybe. I might have embellished 10 years.
Yeah, you said I look 46.
Yeah, man, yeah. You're in better damn shape than I am. Look at you.
No, I'm not. It's so.
But a lot of times we don't realize what we're doing while we're doing it. We're programmed for success, not understanding that we are,
Yeah.
And so, we're what Zig Ziglar said. We're designed for accomplishment, engineered for achievement, endowed with the seeds of greatness. Everybody is. But I've found in the stories of people, like what you just told, like what Kevin Bullard told when he was on here, through stories David Kaufman shared when he's on here, and a myriad of other people that we've not yet had on the show and will at some point. Mm-hmm. But there's often a germination. There's a seed. If we stop after decades, a lot of times we stop and we think there was one story, something that happened to us where we were mentored, encouraged, enlightened, that germinated the seed of greatness that was in us. And when somebody finally slows our asses down after years of grind and hustle and, hitting the red lights like you talk about in the book, mm-hmm. and finding a way to restart, we're so busy blowing and going, trying to get there because we're driven by achievement. Mm-hmm. And it drives us crazy sometimes. It's like being stuck in your own prison. We can never get a true entrepreneur, business person can never get free from it. It's a blessing and it's also a curse. It's a prison that we live in. Mm-hmm. And so there are days the prison is so intense and the cells closing in so hard that I've had moments, and I'm sure you have too, where I said, I wish to God I could just be a normal person that was happy working a 9 to 5 and coming home and watching Netflix, rinse, repeat, and let's do the same thing over and over again and just be happy. Now, I would die in that system if you put me in it. But being in intense warfare sometimes as business people, putting the war paint on, like I like to say every day, getting up, okay? a lot of times that mediocrity in moments can look very tempting and alluring just because the war gets so strong. And people look at us like, well, you're multimillionaires. Well, you don't got a clue what we have to do along the way.
Yeah, keep it.
To keep it, okay, and to maintain and not just maintain, but to continue to build from the newest platform, because every ceiling you bust through for somebody that's wired differently is just a new floor to build from there and achieve more and to help more people have more. So in thinking about that, looking at your story when you're 7 years old, I look back at my story, the chapter I've got in several books that's been published, and I've still got hopefully this year is my goal is to finish that book, independent book on its own. But my story is, being young, watching my dad do what he could do every day, getting us up when we wanted to have horses and building a barn and building a pen, and understanding, looking back, that you can't have provision without a vision. You can't have a baby and then build a nursery. You got to have a place for it first to inhabit. So I talk about that in my book and in my Excellence Effect keynote. And so everybody has got that story, because we're all born with a seed of greatness. But what I want to highlight to the listener is that if you'll stop and think and slow down for a moment, any of you that's achieved anything, if you'll look back, not only was there a process, you might not have realized that while you was going through it all along the way. As we talked about, John mentioned earlier, it's almost like you reverse engineered to write this book and went back to realize and document, damn, all this stuff worked together for my good in consequential.
God did that.
But then it always goes all the way back to a defining moment, a moment that the germination of the seed of greatness that was planted in you by God began to sprout. That's amazing when you look at people's stories.
Yeah, and I would challenge anyone to ask. I mean, we've all done something, John, and some. My story pales compared to Bill Gates, so I'm not even but I think the story is the story. Everyone's story is just as important, regardless of the magnitude, regardless of our friend over here that's having trouble with an account that just left him and where he's going to be lifted up. And everyone's got their story matters most to them, because that's who it's affecting. And our job as leaders is to turn our success and point it back at somebody, making them with us and experiencing our successes with them, for them, through them. And I think if we can do that, we're going to have great success. And that's what the keynote is about. It's delivering this fun, egotistical side of me and turning it around like a mirror, and saying, okay, and here we go, and this is you. You're not going to be bald like me, but this is you. Okay, I'm talking about me, having fun with me, but all of a sudden, this is about you. Okay, and so we need to do this. So it's this idea of dealing with bigger, faster, stronger. And so I challenge leaders. It's a leadership message. I challenge leaders to first and foremost, before you can believe, prepare, attack, to conquer the bigger, faster, stronger, to win that race like I did as a 7-year-old boy. I mean, we were running slow, right? You can understand 7-year-old, 8-year-old little boys just trying to finish a race. That's a long ways. But the idea is that it's not 440 yards. It's further. It's the distance. It's more. It's more. But this idea of a leader, before you can really conquer this idea of believe, prepare, attack, you have to understand that you have a mission every morning when you get up as a CEO, COOs, owner of your own company. Mr. Kamer got here is awesome. You have to understand that you have a mission beyond the mission statement of your organization. And none of us really as leaders are thinking about what our mission is as a human being, as a leader. And so I challenge people to first and foremost understand that your mission as a leader is to purely just go the distance. 7-year-old boy got it. Every CEO needs to understand, every leader needs to understand it, that they only have one mission. It's to go the distance. Create an organization, take care of yourself, take care of your people, take care of the money, take care of the organization, take care of the clients, take care of the partners, take care of everybody, so this cocktail, this perfect cocktail, can continue beyond you. I mean, that's your mission. Justin, John, you have to do that. And I'm speeding it up. I'm turning it up because I want you to feel it. I want you to understand that I'm damn serious about this. This is crayons and chocolate milk, but you haven't thought about it. I didn't think about it until I wrote a damn book. I didn't write the keynote. It's truly important. So you get this idea of urgency of your mission. You get this idea. I was telling my friend over there filming, and Aaron, that I want people to feel a certain way when they leave my message, because they don't remember all the words. I want you guys to walk away from this table feeling a certain way. I hope you feel that way. I hope the listeners will feel that way. So if I can create that through attitudinal disruption or truth or emotion or stories to help people understand, because Wired Differently and you guys and your success and your separation nation is an attitudinal disorder. It's disruptive. It's true. It's real. So I want people to understand, as leaders, your mission is to go the distance. Once you do that, I challenge people to believe, prepare, attack. That is how we are going to push through this bigger, faster, stronger moments. And then I speak on believe and being supreme believers. And I speak on prepare and doing the reps, the things you guys do to be the masters of your craft. I mean, I can't imagine for a moment you guys built this empire by not doing the reps, right? I mean, you went out there, you're still doing the reps. You're not
never end.
If you don't do the reps, you're not going to be successful. And it's funny, and it's funny how people get confused on success, but if you don't do the reps, if you don't role play, if you don't practice, you don't lift, you don't hit, whatever you're doing, you have to do in repetition to become great at it. And it's funny because it's the quote in the speech is, if you don't like the way you live, change the way you train. I built a gym for my old high school, Angola High, and that's the quote they put on the wall. I said, listen, if the way you train is the way you live. If you don't like the way you live, change the way you train. Train, swap the word prepare. If you don't like the way your business is going, you don't like the way your marriage is going, you don't like the way your parenting is going, you don't like the way success in any genre of leadership, change the way you're preparing. And some of us need to prepare right out from the gate. Maybe you need to start preparing, right?
Well, it reminds me of something when I was on the radio show years ago, you said nothing changes if nothing changes. That's what you said.
Yeah.
And so, it's...
Thanks for remembering that.
Yeah, nothing changes. If you don't change it's the small things that we do each and every day. It's the small foxes that spoil the vine. It's the little things that we do or don't do each and every day that compound over time and equate to where you're currently living. What you did 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago is what you're reaping today, not what you did yesterday. Yesterday's sowing the seed for months in advance. And if you don't develop the discipline to make the painful decisions and to change the things and to endure and go in and say, well, this is the way I've always done it, but I'm not happy with the result. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, we know it's the definition of insanity. And it boils down to that. Success is the small choices that we make each and every day, compounded over time, And it's not the...
I know, man. I feel it.
It's not the... everybody looks for this one big thing. No, I mean, if you weigh 300 pounds and you're, 5'2". It's not the huge meal you eat on the weekend. It's the burger and fries every day throughout the week. If you could replace it with a salad, it's over time you slowly.
Why are you talking about meat right here in front of you now? And I quit meat.
I forgot about that. We got a vegan. We got a vegan brother. I don't understand. That's the only thing about you I don't like.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a carnivore to the bone.
I know, and Nick and I, our favorite is the tomahawk.
Oh, yeah.
We go out and eat that tomahawk, and he gives me all kinds of grief.
Did you see the tomahawk that I reverse seared on my big green egg last week?
No, I didn't. I'd rather not.
On your drive back to Florida, you need to go look at it.
I'm going to look it up. So we once we're supreme believers, once we get past the reps and the preparation and the readiness and all those things, so we got to believe, we got to prepare, and the last thing we got to do is attack. And it's this whole idea of this cycle: believe, prepare, attack. And I think we we get too sophisticated. We try to spreadsheet everything, you know. And one thing you can never put in a spreadsheet is God or faith or will or just the idea of going further. You know what I'm saying, Aaron? Your spreadsheets are great, but they minimize faith. You're trying to take faith out of everything when you put it on a spreadsheet because you want everything to work out perfectly. You want the lines, you want the bottom line to be here. I'm not saying don't spreadsheet because I got a great spreadsheet. But what I'm saying is we got to believe, we got to prepare the best we can, and then at some point we just got to believe that our preparation is enough, and then we got to pull the trigger. A lot of people have trouble with that. But I think that if you look at those things and you understand that you are going to be separated. You're a nation, you're separation nation. You follow these 3 key guidelines and you understand that your mission is to go the distance. Your plans are going to work. Your plans are going to work in business. Your plans are going to work in your marriage. Your plans are going to work in parenting. I mean, business is just a byproduct of what we do. I mean, the formulas in business work for life. And I close every speech with, let's do this thing called life. Money's going to come if we follow this system, you know, wired differently system, this motivational, experiential success system. I'm telling you, it's rudimentary, but it works.
You talk about not having to have everything perfect, basically is what you're saying. And one key, as I've studied leaders over the years, one innate, absolute, non-negotiable trait synonymous with all leaders of consequence is that they pull the trigger and they don't look back. Right. And one reason that we can't see what the hell we've even done, like we was talking about earlier, we're 30, 40, 50 years in an entrepreneurial journey sometimes, before somebody sometimes shakes us and say, hey, it's time to influence other people. And then we finally look back and say, well, how did I get? Well, you know what I mean? I know what I did, but and one thing I'm trying to do is to stay a little more cognizant of that along the way. I don't know if sometimes I think that hurts me more than it helps me. Right. Okay. It's almost better to do it and then be able to look back. But, you know, it takes me to one of my favorite quotes, and I've said it on here many times, but, you know, Dallas, J.R. Ewing, promise the world and figure out how to deliver it tomorrow, you know.
Well, it's ready, fire, aim. Yeah. You ready, fire, aim. That's what the book is. The book's aiming. Yeah. You know, okay, you fired, you were successful. Now let me aim it and figure out how I did it.
Let's go. Yeah. So one of the exciting things I want to talk about is over the next year, we're building a quarterly experience, a Wired Differently experience. And it's felt like I've been challenged enough to open up myself and my soul in the book. And had a lot of people ask me, you know, how can we do that too? And so I'm really excited. We're going to be launching a retreat, a Wired Differently retreat. And it's going to give us 3 full days, 3.5 days. And we're going to learn how to be wired differently, from a successful business model to an attitudinal disorder type of thing. We're going to learn how to speak a little bit more. We're going to learn how to project. We're going to learn how to spreadsheet. We're going to learn how to build the exact model of differentiality companies that I've put together over time. I'm literally going to take people in my home. I'm going to take them out on a boat, and we're going to go eat on Anna Maria Island. I know you know that's going to be good, right? Man. We're going to go to some other key leaders in the community, and we're going to hear how they've been successful. We're going to do all this at IMG. Are y'all familiar with IMG? Mm-hmm. IMG is the most elite training resort in the country. And we're going to do it at the Legacy Resort.
I had a cousin went to school there.
Yeah. And so we're in a place of excellence. We're going to be learning excellence. We're going to be pulling back the covers on Wired Differently and my business model. And we're going to experience excellence, and we're going to get to work. And then we're going to break bread, and we're going to do some excursions. It's going to be fabulous, and people are going to get 15x out of it. And I'm really excited to do that. I really feel it's a calling. It's been hard for me, I mean, because I'm going to have to charge some money. I can't continue to do everything, you know, write books and hand them out and sell some and do hats and stuff. I mean, it's been fun, but I think that I'm being a little selfish because I'm afraid to ask for something to give something more, because I've just not been brave enough to do that. And I think this retreat has been something that people have been asking for, and I can do it in a modest way.
Right.
and pass on some success and see that seed multiply. I do have a great product. I have a great success product, a great success system. And I know people have been asking for it, so how can I deliver it without seeming like I'm, you know what I'm trying to say? It's hard. Yeah, I've just been against that for so long. So what we're going to do is the first quarter, we get through some of this stuff, we get it set up, and we're going to be doing a really almost free experience. And we're going to build that curriculum with those people on site. We're going to take 8 to 10 people through this experience. And we're going to go to work and make some fun, and we're going to make some friends, we're going to make some money, and I'm going to share my contacts, my home, my professionals, my secret sauce, if you want to call it that, in the whole spreadsheet, and how we do and collect companies this Wired Differently way, and how we do it, how we pick companies to buy and build.
Sounds exciting.
It's going to be a blast.
Sounds great. And you have a timeline at all for that? Right
Yeah,
now?
we want, our goal is third quarter, 3.5 days, it'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get in and get out. We'll have break bread on Thursday, and we'll leave on Sunday around 3 o'clock. It's a palatial place. We'll have command of the whole hotel resort. We're not going to be confined. I've done some of these experiences with masterminds. I mean, we're gonna build a Wire Differently community. I don't want to get thrown in that mastermind bucket, but we're gonna have people. I'm gonna talk to some really cool podcast people. Mm-hmm. They're gonna be involved in that mastermind.
There you go.
Right, but people need to hear from guys like you. They need, you need to be rewarded for it. You need to be a part of that, and we need to build from that. So it's going to be excited. Third quarter, and we're going to have the whole place. So we're not going to be in just one room. We have a boardroom where we're going to do some podcasts and video training. We're going to have a different room where we're going to crush the stage like my man Dell taught me, where we're going to teach people how to speak, the 3 T's. Tell them what you told them, and tell them again. We're going to teach people how to structure a speech, an elevator pitch, because the key to success in a lot of regards is communication. How many of you really, I know you've probably done.
Dale Carnegie said, leadership gravitates to the man who can talk.
Right. So I need to teach Wired Differently people how important that is. And if I'm going to tell them it's important, in this workshop, they got to learn in 2.5 hours how to get up there and give me a 2-minute elevator pitch on their product.
Well,
fun, right?
Come on. Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of, just what you said, the communication, why that's so critical. Justin and I got real similar backgrounds, but I was a senior pastor for 5 years.
I knew something was, listen, man, you're over here weeping like me. I know you got it.
They wouldn't have knew that. I said I ain't gonna wait for the camera. But I've said that, we've been successful in sales and then training other people how to sell and communicate, and sales is all about communication. But I said that being a pastor for all those years taught me the 2 most important things.
Have you ever mentioned that on the show?
Yeah, we've kind of, not a lot. We talk more about.
You're brave enough. You're coming out, man. I love it.
The business aspect, but 2 things I learned being a pastor. Number one, I had to learn to communicate, because it's back then it wasn't. It was Sunday morning, Wednesday night. That's 104 times a year you're communicating.
Isn't it hard? You're coming out. Not that you need to come. I'm not. When we say we're believers, that target gets really big on us.
Especially when you cuss a little bit.
Yeah.
when you love Jesus, but you cuss.
And that's even harder being a preacher, is not kind of cussing.
Yeah, but you still have that standard.
Yeah,
you're never going to get a
absolutely.
You're a regular dude, but I really appreciate it. And I get nervous when I tell people, because I've done some dumb things, man. Really dumb things.
Oh, we all have.
And but you got to keep pushing forward. You got to willing to blow the deal, to make the deal. You have to still profess it. But go ahead.
The communication, that taught me communication. Yeah. I learned more about sales and business and being successful through that. The second thing I learned was rejection.
Yeah.
At any point in time, you're preaching to people that can't stand you. Sometimes you got some that love you, some that's just there because they've been there longer than you or whatever. So those 2 things, learning how to deal with rejection and being rejected over and over, people coming to your church, following and, becoming friends, leaving.
Hurting your feelings.
Hurting your feelings and all. you don't fear it as bad. I don't think you ever get used to rejection. Nobody likes to be rejected. But you get to a point where, okay, that's happened before. I'll get through it. I'll go. And then you get to a point where you're not so afraid to fail or be rejected that you just keep going. And you get rejection there. And that's the thing about sales. And, we tell these professionals that work for us, don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be afraid of no. Just some will, some won't, so what?
Well, in sales, it's a numbers game, too. Every rejection, you're closer to the next yes, and, you got to make so many calls to make it happen. And the thing is, I'm sure you guys teach them that why was it a no? Because you're going to grab something from it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is fun, man.
We've had a great time, man. It's been a great time. And
I love the fact that you can go back almost 4 years, and we had those moments together, and we can kind of rekindle that here. Like we just stepped out of that room, and you brought back the Towser, and what was it? Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Unless it changes.
Yeah, you put me on the spot.
I did.
Me go through a whole sales presentation on the air, and I'm not a big morning person. I'm the opposite of most quote unquote successful people. I like to observe the morning. I don't even speak till 10.
Yeah,
I was down there. I had to get up from the Ritz-Carlton. I wanted to lay.
You had to get up from the thing.
I wanted to lay. I wanted to lay in the bed with Mama, and I had to get up at the butt crack of dawn and find some food and
I was yelling
wipe the crust out of my eyes. At, what was it? 7 a.m.
It was early, man. I got up at 4 for those shows and wrote it.
Well, you're one of them real entrepreneurs. You got up at 4 this morning.
Yeah, I did.
I hadn't even got up to take my first piss at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Man. Mine's at 2.
I meant to say.
Oh, you got some gray hair.
I got a bunch. Well, and you can't get haircuts right now, so.
That's true.
Keep still coming.
All you that's fighting the coronavirus, keep the faith. Hopefully we're on the downhill slump within the next week or so. At the time we're filming this, hopefully by the time you hear this.
I'm making fun of my wife last night. She's trying to figure out how to take her acrylic nails off because she's so used to somebody doing her nails and all. And I'm like laughing at her because, and what's the thing with the girls going wrong now? Show your roots. No.
Oh, yeah, show your roots.
Damn, I can't get a haircut. Starting to hit home. I'm starting to feel their pain.
This has been great. You guys are awesome.
Oh, man.
You need to keep doing what you're doing. People need to hear from you. You need to finish that damn book, Justin. Quit talking about it. Yeah. John, I love the fact that you come out, and I love the fact that you talk about the Lord and you push, and you got this moral compass. And I think you guys are a super team together. Listen, so many people, you think about partners and life and success, and everybody needs a partner, man. And finding that perfect balance or even a close balance and someone to lean on, I envy that, what you guys got. I've just never really, I finally let a person into my company. His name's Sam. And we had flirted with each other 20 years. I kind of trained him in the payroll world. When I lost my job at ESI, and I think I told that last week or whatever it was. Sam was a guy trained in the PEO world. Will close the show with us, and he's a super great guy in Payserve Systems. And he was with a big payroll company that just was it was bigger than Payserve. And I would call him every now and then. I started my own thing, and he was the sales lead over there. We would just flirt with each other, and I'd tell him I'm growing. On one of these days. So about 15 years went by after all that payroll, and I trained him then, and he was a fledgling on that the old payroll company he was with. And one day he called me, and I just sold everything, and I was building this last tier for Payserve Systems. I got about 5 companies. Payserve Systems, my baby, right? And they're gonna be listening to this. I got my Tom shirt on, Wired Differently. I give my Payserve people a shout out. And he called me. He says, "Hey Todd, I just want to let you know it's 15 years later, and I just sold everything for millions, right? And I'm rebuilding my last shot." And he says, "Todd, I just want to let you know the big company he was working for as the sales VP." He says, "I gave him my computer today." I said, "What are you talking about?" I quit. I said, "Sam, this guy's a $300,000 guy plus, right? He's badass. He is a warrior." I'm like, "Sammy, what are you telling him?" He goes, "I'm coming." I don't have that in my budget. I don't have it in my budget. I sold things, moved some things around. I'm trying to keep everybody going because we had the money, but we didn't have the product quite yet, and everything was full. And I'm like, I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm coming. We've been talking about it for all these years, right? I said, okay. and I had no idea what I was going to do with this cat, but I got to have him, right? He's my guy, and we've been doing this for years. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, don't worry about salary. I'm going to do it to you again, man. I said, Sammy, I said, you come for 40, 50 grand for a couple months here. I thought for sure. It's no problem, Todd. So, anyways, I love him, and he's a partner now, and I give him equity in the company, and he's making a lot more than. Yeah, he's back to where he needs to be, but that's faith. That's something. That story with Sam, and so Sammy, you can watch this, but 15, 20 years of just somebody. I never asked him, I just was building him mentally and loving him and showing him in action what you guys are doing for your people, and for him to just drop everything and come and be a part of my organization, really for no money whatsoever. Just believed in me. It's just really the best story to end this interview with, because I want Wire Differently people to have that type of impact on people. I want them to learn, and I want them to build, and then I want them to project in others, and I want that. I mean, now Sam is doing that for another person in our organization now already. And he's brilliant. He's better than me.
Well, that's the definition.
Clearly better than me.
That's significance. Success is when you help your forward, and no more. Significance is when that influence has become viral and you overflow. And that's what you've done. That's what you've done with Sam. That's what Sam's doing with another guy now. Yeah. And that's when success becomes viral, it bursts significance. And that's the greatest thing we can all hope for, is to be significant in the lives of others. So, and you're significant in our lives. We hope to be significant in yours, and to keep moving forward. And we'll when we're down, hopefully, if they'll let us travel again when we're down on Anna Maria this summer, we'll all get out on the boat a little bit.
You're coming.
And got a beautiful place down there. I'm always jealous of your backyard pictures. So
we'll take some more of those.
I'm gonna get me a place down there for too many more years.
I got some cool TikToks coming out. You're gonna really dig.
I got to get on TikTok. I hadn't ventured into that world yet.
Oh, you got to follow me on TikTok, everybody. TikTok. I'm goofy. I'm serious. I'm fun. I'm emotional. TikTok is. I get 15 seconds to make it all happen, and
that's cool.
TikToks is really fun.
Well, listen, everybody, we hope you've enjoyed this. Our goal is to always bring value to you. We don't make nothing to do this. We don't get a paycheck. This is just simply to basically get the message out, to help people that want to know, what can I do to separate myself to be able to be doing, have more, wired differently. If you're listening to this, chances are you are wired differently. Okay, we encourage you to go get the book. It really is an exceptional read. Go to wireddifferently.com to get the book, or you can also go to Amazon. If you want to have Todd speak at your next event, there's a link right there on his website where you can get all the booking information that you need. He's absolutely prolific. He's dynamic on stage. You can go to YouTube and view that for yourself, okay? But again, we hope this has brought value to you. Make sure that you're sharing the message, getting it out there, subscribing on all platforms that are available, because if you go there and podcasts are played, guess what, people? Search Separation Nation, and we're there, okay? We'll see you next time right here on Separation Nation.